Here we go. All right. First of all, happy Pizza Day, everybody. This is Dr. Chef's Crypto. This is Dr. Chef. Hey, if you don't know what Crypto Pizza Day is, it's a special holiday for giant geeks. For real, though, it is a celebration every May 22nd that a select number of Uber dorks celebrate the first exchange of a cryptocurrency for a real-world asset. In this case, the real-world asset was pizza, 2 pizzas, and the Bitcoin was the only currency. This was 2010. 10,000 Bitcoin. So a programmer from Florida named Laszlo, who was a miner, had some Bitcoin, a lot of it, and he offered 10,000 Bitcoins, and this 19-year-old kid decided he was going to take him up on it. So Jeremy went and got, 2 pizzas from Papa John's and brought him over, got his 10,000 Bitcoin, which he doesn't have, and if he did, he would have probably cashed out last year for about $600 million, over $500 million for the 2 pizzas. That just goes to show you how it's been over the last 12 years. So if you're sitting there thinking, I don't know about this whole cryptocurrency thing, why don't you go talk to Jeremy or Laszlo? Anyway, this is May 22nd, 2022, the 12th anniversary of Pizza Day, and here we are. The subject today is Level 1 Ethereum competitors and a little quick look at the 2 biggest ones. Now, it's exciting stuff for me because, I like to get deep into this. So this is definitely not basic training. If you are looking for more basic training information, please go to we got 100 videos on here, right? All those first 40 or 50 videos are almost all basic training. There's a whole bunch of little crypto bites, little short snacks that are easy to digest. So we have a lot of information on here if you're getting started. This is more advanced. From a investor point of view or a trader point of view, you would be looking at these 2 things we're going to talk about today as in their currencies. Sol, S-O-L, for Solana, and AVAX for Avalanche. But I'm looking more at the blockchains, the ecosystems, and the concepts behind them, because it's really quite cool to me, all that stuff. I think it's fascinating, the developments that are going on and all of that, and I want to talk a little bit about that. So, as usual, this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy these things. You need to do your own research and figure out what you want to do. If you decide you want to back one of those 2, that'd be great. But that's for you to decide. This is not official financial advice. I'm not official financial advisor. This is education, and in this case, kind of in-depth education. So let's get into it. Solana and Avalanche are what you call alternatives to Ethereum, and there's reasons for that being needed. So let's back up. First of all, there's all these code words you need to know. Cardano, which we're not talking about today in particular, but I love Cardano. Cardano is, sort of started the idea of a third level or a 3.0 version. What do they mean when they say they're the 3rd generation? They're, blockchain or crypto 3.0. What does that mean? Well, the quick version. Bitcoin is 1.0. It's the first, and it came with some huge advantages and disadvantages based on that. The big advantage is it's the biggest, it's the most powerful. It is the biggest, holder of wealth. It is the gold standard of crypto. 2.0, blockchain or crypto 2.0 is Ethereum. Because what happened with Ethereum several years after Bitcoin was developed, it became obvious that all it could do was one thing. Now, this one thing is amazing, an alternative monetary source like gold. I mean, this is a big deal, but it didn't have the ability to grow, scale, change, move, etc. It just did what it did. So Ethereum was created as a blockchain ecosystem, as a platform on which you could grow all kinds of things, whether it was dApps or apps or programs or DeFi systems or subsidiary banking systems or NFTs or trading platforms or exchanges. All these things could be built on top of this new form of blockchain as a platform. And this was brilliant. This was 2.0. The reason Cardano and Solana and Avalanche are called 3.0 is because they are the next level, because people realized a problem with Ethereum. The problem has to do with a thing called the trilemma, which we'll talk about in a minute. But what it is a scalability problem, an expense problem. It might be quite secure. It might be really solid in what it's doing. Unfortunately, as anybody who trades a lot or knows that deals with crypto, the fees and the time are very bad. The transaction speeds for Bitcoin are so slow. It probably takes, they probably do 4 or 5 transactions a second. It probably takes an hour to achieve finality where the blocks are all organized and secured. I mean, it is so slow. Ethereum's faster, 10 or 20, whatever it is. But, this is so slow and so expensive. I've made trades on the Ethereum network before where it's cost me almost as much to make the trade as I was trading, and it's taken me, in some cases, many, many minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes for a trade. And this is because it's not very scalable. It's not fast or inexpensive. It's the opposite. This created the need for alternatives. Now, keep in mind that I'm talking about Ethereum 1.0, and a lot of people are going to be quick to point out that many of these problems will be fixed by Ethereum 2.0, which will be out any minute now. And they say that it's going to be a much faster, and I don't know if it's going to be that much cheaper. We'll find out. But they do have some huge advantages at Ethereum, such as the number of validators being hundreds of thousands. I mean, it's going to be such a big deal. Like this, it's going to be unstoppable. So I don't think there's any such thing as an Ethereum killer. I think that Ethereum will fix. I trust Vitalik. I trust these guys. I think that they've done one of the most genius things ever. I don't think Ethereum is going away. I don't think it's going to be killed. I think it's going to succeed. And I'm thinking we're going to have a couple different blockchains. It's going to be a multi-chain world. If they fix all their problems, they're going to be very hard to stop. But right now, as of this date, they haven't. They've utilized a lot of subsystems and a lot of bridges and other types of links to try to help things such as Polygon. So in the current state of affairs, which may well take us long through the next halving and into the foreseeable future, we need alternatives. We need other blockchain ecosystems and platforms that solve the problems. Today I want to discuss the 2 biggest and most important. Now Cardano is great, but it's not done. It's got a lot of things that it doesn't really have its full system in play yet. It's not equivalent to these right now when it comes to building. It's worth more. I mean, it's a very big asset, but and I love Cardano. Don't get me wrong, I love Cardano. But when it comes to being fleshed out and ready for the world, when it comes to building everything on it, utilizing the smart contracts and all that stuff, it's not quite the same as these two. So I would say these two, Solana and Avalanche, are the big competitors for Ethereum. The reason I want to talk about them specifically today is because they did two very different things to solve the problems. Their approaches are dramatically different. And so I find that fascinating. The people behind both these programs are geniuses. They have labs, they have major teams, and very high-level programmers and cryptographers and people that know how this stuff works from the inside out. It is extremely detailed and complex, and the teams are amazing. But what they were addressing is a thing called the trilemma, which I mentioned earlier. The trilemma is a theory, and here's what it says. It says that you need three things. You have three problems to solve with a blockchain and a blockchain ecosystem. Those three things are decentralization, security, and scalability. You need to deal with these three things, but the trilemma says you can never quite deal with all three. To date, we have no perfect solution. For instance, you can become decentralized where you have no controlling mechanisms. You're truly free. You're truly decentralized. But the more decentralized you are, the less secure you are and the harder it is to scale. The things don't always work together. You can be super scalable where you can build and build and build and build and build, but that openness, can cost you in the decentralization or security department. You can be deeply secure. This is why they accuse Coinbase, Binance, other places that are very secure. They accuse them of not being decentralized enough. The reason they call, certain things decentralized exchanges, but then they talk about Coinbase and other exchanges in a different way, is because they're more secure. The more secure you get, the harder it is to be decentralized, right? Kind of think about it like a whole bunch of people running around. If you want to try to control a group of people, you need to put walls up. You need to do things to secure the situation. And as you do that, they have less freedom. You're very secure if you're in an underground box. You're very secure from attack, but you can't move or do anything. If you can run around and do whatever you want, then you're more open to attack. So this decentralization, security, scalability trifecta, this trilemma, has created a world where there's always some kind of trade-off. So the people that were responding to the level 1 and level 2, not level, and I'll explain why I don't want to say levels. The 2.0, the 1.0, the stages, if you will, or the generations of these development of these platforms. The reason that the 3.0 people wanted to address 1.0 and 2.0, they wanted to make as many of these parts of these trilemma take them as far as they could. And Solana and Avalanche are the two that have come up with the best solutions so far. The solutions were there to solve the problems. And the problems presented by Ethereum or by blockchain or crypto 2.0, by that generation. If you can call that generation 1.0, generation 2.0, and generation 3, the third generation. Third gen. The reason I don't want to use the term level is because we have the concept of level 1, and I need to explain this. Level 1 is the blockchain, the ecosystem. There's about 10 significant players in the level 1 space. Those include Cosmos, or Cardano, or Ethereum, or the two that we're talking about today, Solana and Avalanche, Polkadot. These are the level 1. And what that means is they are the ecosystem itself. They're the blockchain. You build on top of them level 2 and level 3 dApps and applications, programs, use cases, projects. You build level 2, level 3 on top of them. So what Solana and Avalanche are technically is third gen level 1s. Third generation crypto blockchain 3.0 level 1 full blockchain ecosystem. So they're Gen 3 level 1. That's what you would call them technically. Okay, so let's compare Solana and Avalanche. Let's take a look at how they solve the problem. There's a lot of details. Both of these have major followings. Both of these have hundreds and hundreds of validators, as well as large web presence, websites. You can find information. You can read the white papers. You can research the heck out of these guys. So I'm going to hit sort of the fun stuff real quick. Because when I talk about Solana, what I want to talk about is proof of history. So I want to give you the biggest plus and the biggest minus and any kind of confusion for both of these. Here's what Solana did. And it didn't just solve the speed problem. It solved the speed problem in an epic way. Like in a way that will blow your mind. It's not just faster. You know, Avalanche is fast. Avalanche is 4,000, 5,000 a minute compared to 20, right? You know, even the other competitors for these guys are around 1,000 or less transactions per second. So the speed of both of these is epic. Solana and Avalanche, the speed is epic. But if you were to take the maximum possible speed, you would probably be dealing with Solana as the winner. And that means speed and cost are very low for both of these. But here's what happens. You have this history of how you track this, and you probably know it's called proof of something. If you don't know what this is, proof of work was the very first one. That's the way in which Bitcoin proves what's happening. All these people all over the world are running all these computers to track all these transactions. There's a race to see who wins, who does it the most accurately and the fastest. That person wins the block, and they get a reward, and that's where the crypto comes from. That's why the currency exists and how it's generated. And this is called proof of work. This is the original system. Later on, a system was developed called proof of stake. And proof of stake is where validators have voting. They're all kind of voting on what's happening, and they're picking the best and making sure that everything is validated so that all the information on the blocks are true. And they do that, and they do it by stake. In other words, the more of that coin you have staked. So this is like having... So proof of work is like if you worked for somebody and you got paid, but proof of stake is like if you own part of the company. Okay, so proof of stake was an improvement over proof of work, both ecologically, energy usage-wise, as well as a bunch of other things. But speed and effectiveness, it was a very big, improvement. But it still suffered from problems, and that's the problems that you see in the second generation. The first and second generations had these speed and expense problems. Solana solved this, but not only did they solve it by picking up the speed and creating a proof of history, the timestamps involved were very important. So I'm trying not to be too technical, but here's how it works. Maybe you sent a message, and maybe thousands of people sent thousands of messages. One of the ways to put those things in order and secure them is to do it by checking the time. So in other words, if I receive a letter in the mail and then I go call the person and find out when they sent it. And so the other two ways, proof of work and proof of stake, had an additional component of having to check timestamps. What proof of history does is create the timestamp automatically, so that the entire thing is continually kept. The timekeeping is going on continuously. When you have continual timekeeping, it speeds the process up dramatically. It also means that everything's automatically timestamped, which means that you can run multiple things at once. You could send 20 letters at once. They're all going to be stamped in. When they arrive, you can sort them all out as to when they went. So in other words, instead of having to go one letter at a time and see who sent it and see when they sent it and try to validate it, you can look at 5,000 letters at the same time and put them in order based on their timestamp. So what this timekeeping proof of history did was vastly speed up the whole entire system, making Solana an amazing improvement in speed and cost. It's so dramatically fast and so dramatically cheap, it's going to be very hard to beat. Now, Ethereum 2.0, we'll see what happens. Ethereum 3.0, we'll see what happens. But right now, this is a very, very big deal. The speed and cost of Solana is a big deal. Now, they focused more on that. Avalanche had a different approach entirely. And full disclosure, I think my favorite blockchain of all is probably Avalanche. Now, I'm not mad at Solana. I think what they did with proof of history is amazing. But Solana has a flaw. Now, everybody has a flaw, okay? Everything has a flaw. Bitcoin, which is totally unstoppable, it's gold. It still has a flaw. It's like saying gold is really heavy. If you get so much gold, it's going to be really hard to carry. Okay, that's a good problem to have. But it's still a problem. If I want to try to transfer everything in gold, it's going to be very slow and very hard to transfer, you know? So everything has a flaw. And the flaw with Solana is the language it's written in. The backup, the way that it's created is a thing called Rust. And the problem is, it's very unique, it's very cool, it's a cool thing to do. It's very programmer friendly in a way, it's really great. The problem is it doesn't match the other systems. If Solana wins out completely and dominates the world, none of that will matter. But the problem is it creates the connectivity between Solana and other chains. It makes it difficult because those chains typically have what's called EVM. It's basically an Ethereum system. And the systems that Ethereum's using, like Snowman and other stuff, these protocols, and this is really complicated stuff, but it's much harder for interoperability. If you're looking for something interoperable where different systems can work together, this is a flaw with Solana. Now, Avalanche has flaws too. It's not quite as fast as as Solana. It's got its own problems, but it also has massive advantages. And I consider Avalanche to be probably the most advantageous of all the third generation level ones. It's definitely faster and than something like Polkadot, although I'm not mad at Polkadot. All level ones are cool, but let me explain what they did at Avalanche. The idea was to have a major scalability advantage, to be able to build more, to be sort of decentralized automatically and secured automatically. They were trying to solve the trilemma the best they could, and they were trying to solve the speed and cost problems of Ethereum the best they could. And they came up with probably the best answer that I know of so far. And that's the creation of these three different chains. So everything else is a single blockchain. What they've done at Avalanche is separate into three chains, then interconnect those chains within the mainnet. And what that does is give them this huge amount of flexibility. And in other words, let's say that in real simple terms, if you're scalable on a blockchain, imagine if you had three, you're automatically 3 times scalable, and probably it's exponential to that 3 times. That's huge. And one of those chains is almost a direct copy of EVM. It basically directly connects to Ethereum. So this gives them total connectability, interoperability, total connectivity to Ethereum and other projects. That's why they were able to do such a big amount of work with Aave. more information on that. I'm not trying to do all this super complicated stuff. This video is long enough. But they have an X platform, which is an exchange. They have a P as a platform. So these are chains, blockchains. The X chain, which is an exchange. The P chain stands for platform. The C chain stands for contract. So the contract chain is a blockchain that deals with all the contracts and all the other areas around. It's the source of the smart contracts, and it connects to all these other smart contract capabilities across the internet, interoperable to all these different systems. This is genius, and it means they could grow that whole system. They could add more to it. They can create layers within it. The exchange chain connects to all the exchanges. Well, if you have these three things separate, and the platform, which is where the staking is done, is separate from the exchange, this is creating more security. So they've created more security. They've triple scaled, so they've got scalability tripled at minimum. And then on the contract side, they're interoperable with everything. And finally, on the platform side, you can create subnets. Subnetworks. What this does is this enables people to interconnect. In other words, if you had a company, you could build your entire company blockchain inside of the Avalanche blockchain. So Avalanche is connected to Binance. Avalanche is connected to Ethereum. It's interoperable with all those systems, and it can be built upon in another whole blockchain. This concept on the platform chain of the subnets is so new that no one even understands it. We're talking about 2 or 3 years old. This is so new. But what it does is it gives them the ability to host entirely new blockchains, put entire companies under their wings. I mean, this is a massive scalability advantage, as well as an income and growth advantage when it comes. I mean, and because you have all these different connections, you're getting decentralized. Now, of course, because you have the system you have of validators, you're going to reach a point when you grow big enough that the computer systems required to do it are going to get, bigger and bigger and harder for individuals to do. Right now, you can be an individual validator of Avalanche relatively affordably. You can be involved in the validation of Avalanche pretty quickly right now. But as it grows, it's going to get more and more difficult and expensive to do that. So this is a decentralization issue. But if you're going to have a problem, this is probably one of the better problems to have. Everything has pluses and minuses. Right now, it's a minus because the wallet situation is tough for Avalanche, and going across those chains is sort of an extra step. So it's a little bit difficult compared to just working within Ethereum with your MetaMask or whatever. It's a little harder. However, that same thing that's making it difficult here in this beta phase, here in this early days of Avalanche, and all these things are early stage. You're talking about stuff that everything's probably in the last 3 to 5 years. I mean, everything's new. But the point of me saying all that is that even though they have those issues, I think what they did that created the issue, which was the 3 chains, is so advantageous when it comes to scalability and security that I think they've done the best job at conquering the trilemma. It's my opinion. Now, Solana is blazing crazy fast and cheap. Highly, highly recommend it. But if I have to pick one 3rd generation level 1 to back, it would probably be Avalanche. And I love the fact that these companies and these groups and these teams are developing all these alternatives. And that's, of course, putting pressure on Ethereum to improve, and they can, and they're the smartest of the smart. These guys are geniuses. I don't think that, Vitalik and all these other guys are just sitting around. They're going to solve these problems. Ethereum is going to be here, in my opinion, forever. And but I think there's going to be some other chains that are going to be here as well. And the flexibility security and strength of Avalanche is such that I think that it's going to be around forever. I am super bullish on both these projects, and I am a crazy on fire psycho bull for Avalanche, and not just because I'm from Colorado. I don't even follow hockey. I'm an NFL guy. So anyway, I did notice that little connection. Everything's named Snow. The effect of the consensus models are kind of a snowballing. They use the Snowman protocol. They have SnowTrack as their tracking system. So anyway, there's a lot of snow references in the Avalanche world. Anyway, I am very impressed with both these systems, and I wanted to try to explain what the third generation level 1 blockchain ecosystems look like, focusing on these two primary competitors for Ethereum and how they solve the trilemma problem and the cost and speed problems that Ethereum has. And they've both done a very good job at that, and they're both very, very different. So I like both of them. Anyway, if you have any questions, please enter a comment below or just contact me, drchefscrypto@gmail.com, and I would love to answer your question. This is a wonderful day. Have some pizza. Celebrate. I mean, think about that. The first transaction was 12 years ago, you guys. This is brand new. I mean, this is like cell phones in the 80s. I mean, this is, computers and internet in the 80s. This is brand new stuff. When it comes to all the, Bitcoin competitors, you're talking about most of them are the big ones like these. Some of this stuff is 5 years old. That's it. So this is so new. A lot of these problems will be sorted out. A lot of these things will get better. Hey, maybe somebody will have a complete, perfect solution for the trilemma. We'll see. But I'm super excited. Even when the market's a little low, it's just a good time to buy. And I am super excited. So I suggest, and like I said, it's not official financial advice, but now would be a really good time to get involved in either one or both of these projects. All right. Solana and Avalanche, full analysis of the pluses and minuses are in the books. And this is Dr. Chef, Dr. Chef's Crypto signing off. Thank you very much for your time and patience. Have an amazing day, and happy Pizza Day.